السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وتوفيقا وهدى ورشادا يا رب العالمين. أما بعد, today inshallah we will be continuing our lesson in the explanation of the conditions of the Salah, its pillars and its obligatory acts. We have reached yesterday up to the statement of the Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala of the order وَأَمَّا فُرُوضُهُ فَسِتَّةٌ, the obligations of the wudu, because this is the fourth condition. The fourth condition of the Salah is the Raf' al-Hadeeth, is that one removes the intangible impurity by making wudu. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, he went on to talk about the wudu. And then he mentioned the conditions of the wudu, and he mentions the obligations of the wudu. He says, وَأَمَّا فُرُوضُهُ فَسِتَّةٌ, the obligations of the wudu is 6. غسل الوجه, to wash the face. And he says, وَمِنْهُ الْمَضْمَضَةُ وَالِاسْتِنْشَاقُ, and from it is the washing of the mouth and the inhaling of the water. The madmada and the istinshaq is part of the wajib of washing the face. The madmada is that you put water in the mouth and you move it in the mouth and then you spit it out back. The least part of madmada, the least amount that is counted as madmada is that you do two of these three things. You have three things: putting the water in the mouth, moving it in the mouth, and then spitting it out back. These three things, if you do two of it, it is enough. It is sufficient for it to be called madmada. The istinshaq is to inhale water and exhale it. To inhale, put water in the nose and inhale it, and then exhale it, then take it out back from the nose. And this is two sunnah, to put water in the nose and then take it out back. The sunnah is to take it out back. The istinshaq, putting the water in the nose, is wajib, is compulsory. It's part of washing the face. It's part of washing the face, because the mouth and the nose takes the ruling of the external parts of the body. It is counted as an external part of the body. That's why when you're fasting, something in your mouth without it going down the throat, that doesn't break your fast. Or if you put something in your nose without it going down the throat, that doesn't. Nose and the mouth are ruling, so it has to be washed with the face. Right. The least amount that is mujzi, that is enough for the istinshaq, for the inhaling of the water, is that you put water in the nose. Even if you wet your finger and put it in your nose, or a wet cloth, you take a wet cloth and put it in the nose. As long as the water goes into the nose and it doesn't have to come out back. Coming out back is a sunnah. The istinshaq is the sunnah. The wajib is the istinshaq. The compulsory part is the istinshaq. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Then the Shaykh rahimahullah mentions the limits of the face. He says, وَحَدُّهُ طُولًا, the limit of the face, in the length of the face is from مِنْ مَنَابِتِ الشَّعْرِ إِلَى الذِّقْنِ, from the hairline to the chin. And the hairline, what is meant is the hairline of a normal person, not a bald person or someone whose hairline is has come forward a lot. The hairline of a normal person to the chin. وَعَرْضًا, and the width of the face is from the ear to the ear. This piece of skin that is behind the beard is also part of the face. It has to be washed. It has to be washed. طيب. Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, وَغَسْلُ الْيَدَيْنِ إِلَى الْمِرْفَقَيْنِ, and washing the hands to the elbows, and that includes the elbow. That includes the elbow, from the fingertips to the elbow. Your head to the back, to the hairline at the back of the neck, and from the head, from wiping the head, is wiping the ears. Wajib that you have to wipe the head is that you wipe the entire head, however you wipe it. You wipe from forward, the front, going back, however you wipe it, it has to be wiped. The sunnah way in wiping is that you wipe from the front and you go all the way to the back, and then you come back to the front. Wiping, taking water, and you wet your hands and you wipe it from the front, going all the way to the back, and then you come back to the front. The limits of the head is from the hairline in front of from the forehead, and the hairline at the neck, and that is what you have to wipe. So if your hair, if you have longer hair than that, then you don't have to wipe all the entire hair. You just have to wipe up to the end of the hairline. You wipe to the up to the end of the hair and neck. And ear. If someone wants to take new water or not, that is something that is mustahab, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam. Then he says, وَغَسْلُ الرِّجْلَيْنِ, and to wash the 2 feet to the ankles, to the ankle, which includes the ankle. So you wash up to over the ankle, up to the beginning of the shin. You wash from there until to the toe. The entire feet has to be washed. What tartib, and this sequence, and you start with the face, then the hands, then wiping the head, and then washing the feet. This is a sequence that you have to stick to. That is regarding the sequence in between each wajib, each fard, each obligation. The washing of the face, the washing of the hand, the wiping of the head, and the washing of the feet. Now, like for example, in washing the hands, and washing the right hand and the left hand, that is sunnah. If to wash left before the right, and the sunnah is that right before the left. If you wash the left before the right, that is not wajib. It's sufficient, and it is counted. Your wudu is accepted. Or it's better to wash the right hand before washing the left hand. And same thing with the feet. Like the sequence, washing the face, then the hands to the elbow, then wiping the head, then washing the 2 feet. Wal muwalah, and muwalah is that you wash each limb. The washing happens directly after washing the previous one. So you wash the face, and then you wash directly after it, you wash the hand, and then you wipe your head without leaving lengthy pauses between them, without having lengthy pauses between one limb and the next limb. Right. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he will mention the proof for these furud, he says, وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى يَا أَيُّهَا. Is my voice clear? Is there breaking up, or is it clear? Yeah, inshallah. Is the voice clear? Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me? Right. So he says, وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. Al-Ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He says the proof for these six furud, these six obligatory actions of the wudu, ila salati, O you who believe, when you rise to pray, فَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, wash your faces. And then the Shaykh, he gave you the details about the face. وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, and your hands to the elbows. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, and wipe your heads. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, and wash your feet up to the ankles. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned four things: the washing of the face, the washing of the hands to the elbow, the wiping of the head, and the washing of the feet to the ankles. These are the four limbs that has to be washed or wiped. Right. Washing the face first, then the hands, then wiping the head, then washing the feet is for the sins. This hadith is reported by An Nawaawe, rahimahullah, and it is weak because the next narration in Muslim also narrated this same hadith, and he said, "Abda'u bima bada Allah bih." And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I am Safa and Marwa." So in this narration in Nasa'i, it says start. It's a command. However, or to begin with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began with. However, we can also take the proof of from the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, when you stand to prayer, then wash your face and your hands. And then he says, and wipe your heads. Then he goes back to washing the feet. Now, generally, in the Arabic language, if there's no necessary reason, then whatever is washed should be mentioned together, and whatever is wiped should be mentioned by itself. If there's no specific, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he puts the wiping in between the limbs that has to be washed, that shows, and it is understood from that it has to be in this order. It has to be in this sequence, right? Because generally when the Arabs speak, they would put things that take the same ruling in one place. So all of the washable limbs should be mentioned in one place. Should be mentioned in one place. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made up to show you that this order is meant. That you should wash the face, then wash the hands, then wipe the heads, the feet. Type. He then went on to talk about the muwalah, of the muwalah. He says, وَدَلِيلُ حديث صاحب صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه رأى رجلا في قدمه لمعة قدر الدرهم لم يصبها الماء فأمره بالإعادة. And this is the meaning of a hadith. It was reported by Abu Dawood and others, and some of the other scholars graded it as authentic, like Ibn Khuzaymah, along with others. He said the proof for the muwala, that you have to wash one limb directly after washing the previous limb, and without pausing a lot between them, is the hadith of the lum'ah, of the person who left a spot unwashed. That the Prophet ﷺ saw a man who had left a spot on his foot the size of a dirham, which is a silver coin. He said that wasn't touched with water. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered him, فَأَمَرَهُ بِالْإِعَادَةِ, ordered him to go back and repeat the wudu. The Prophet ﷺ ordered him to repeat the wudu. They say that the reason the Prophet ﷺ ordered him to repeat the wudu is because the pause, and if the muwala, if it didn't have to be washed directly after, then the Prophet ﷺ would have just told him to wash that part that was not touched with water. However, him to repeat the entire wudu, which shows that after. This can also be taken, can be taken from the ayah, because the qa'idah, the ruling, the general ruling in the usuliyin is that when there is a command, then that command should be done right away. That command should be done as soon as possible, right? And he commands us to wash. He says, when you stand to the prayer, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. So Allah commands us to wash the face and wash the hand and wipe the head and wash the feet. So these are commands that came one after the other, and it should be done one after the other, like it was commanded. Wallahu a'lam. He says, وَوَاجِبُهُ التَّسْمِيَةُ مَعَ الذُّكُرِ. The wajib, the compulsory act, and what is meant here by the compulsory is that if he forgets it, then it is still valid. However, if he remembers it and he doesn't say it, he doesn't do it, then it is invalid. And this is the difference between the furud and the wajibat of the wudu. The wudu in the Hanabila and the Hanbali madhab, there's furud of Allah that you say Bismillah if you remember. So, which means that if you remember, then you don't have yani, then the wudu is still complete, but yani, it is overcompleted. Then he said, وَنَوَاقِضُهُ ثَمَانِيَةٌ, and the nullifiers of the wudu are 8. The nullifiers of the wudu are 8. النجس من الجسد. These two, the two private parts, anything that comes out, whether it's urine, whether it's anything else, anything that comes out breaks the wudu. Al-Kharij, whether it's even if it's something that's pure, like if the woman gives birth. Is it clear? Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me clearly? Okay. طيب. طيب. The Shaykh rahimahullah now goes into the nullifiers of the wudu. The nullifiers of the wudu. The things that nullify the wudu. The things that break the wudu. That seems the wudu to renew your wudu. He says, وَنَوَاقِضُهُ ثَمَانِيَةٌ. The things that nullify the ablution are 8. Al-Kharij min as-sabilayn, whatever comes out from the two private parts. والخارج النجس من الجسد, and anything that is impure. والخارج الفاحش النجس من الجسد, and anything that is impure that comes out from any part of the body, any impure substance that comes out from any part of the body, if it is plenty. So here, when dealing with other than the two private parts, when a thing that comes out from other than the two private parts, it has to be what? It has to be najis. It has to be impure, like blood and vomiting. Some of them are vomiting as impure. The Hanbali madhab is that the vomit is impure. So they count these things as impure. So they say if it is plenty, then it breaks the wudu. If it is small in amount, then it doesn't break wudu. So it has to be najis, it has to be impure, and it has to be plenty. So if one of these conditions aren't fulfilled, then it doesn't break the wudu. طيب. He says وَزَوَالُ الْعَقْلِ, and the loss of intellect, the loss of consciousness, and that is whether it's by fainting, it's by sleeping, it's by insanity. However it is lost, then the wudu is broken. The wudu is broken, and one has to do back wudu if he loses consciousness. And there's an exception in this regarding to sleep. If it is an amount, and if it's in a position that you're sitting, and if you're sitting and you're sleeping, if you're sitting and sleeping, then that doesn't break the wudu, because the Sahaba used to it on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and their head will fall out of sleeping, and then they will get up and pray without making back wudu. طيب. He says وَمَسُّ الْمَرْأَةِ بِشَهْوَةٍ, and touching a woman with desire, shahwa. And this, the proof for this is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about things that break the wudu, He touching a woman. Some of the scholars, however, deem this naqid as the touching. It is mentioned in the Quran as a specific touching, and that having sexual intercourse. So that breaks the ghusl and not necessarily the wudu. Allahu a'lam. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in some of his salawat, while he was praying and in the night prayer, he would touch the foot of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha for her to move her foot, because she used to lay down in the house in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he would pray. So when he goes down to make the sajda, he would touch her feet so that she would remove her feet so that he can make sajda. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's why some of the scholars said that this is specific for sexual intercourse. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. He says وَمَسُّ الْفَرْجِ بِالْيَدِ قُبُلًا كَانَ أَوْ دُبُرًا, and touching the private part, whether it's the front or the back. Touching the private part, this is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said مَنْ مَسَّ فَرْجَهُ أَوْ ذَكَرَهُ فَلْيَتَوَضَّأ. There's different narrations in that. Whoever touches his private part, then let him make wudu. Type and touching, any part of the hands, whether it's the front part of the hand, the back part of the hand, the side of the hand, any part of the hand that touches the private part, breaks the wudu. Type. He says, وَأَكْلُ لَحْمِ الْجَزُورِ, and eating the camel's meat, also breaks wudu. And there's a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asked, should we make wudu from eating sheep meat? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mutton. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you wish, you can make wudu. And then he was asked, should we make wudu from eating camel's meat? So he said, yes, make wudu from eating camel's meat. But Tafseer al-Mayyit, and to bathe the dead, the person who bathes the dead has to make wudu. And this is because of a hadith reported by Tirmidhi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man ghassala mayyitan falyaghtasil." Whoever bathes the dead, then he should make ghusl. And the scholars, some of the scholars say that what is meant by ghusl here is wudu. And in that he should make wudu, not the entire ghusl. And what is meant here by the person who bathes the mayyit, bathes the dead, is the person who actually rubs his skin and so on, bathes, not the person who's pouring the water, But Islam, and if one apostates from Islam, if one leaves Islam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us and protect us from that. أعاذنا الله. The nullifiers of wudu. These are the eight nullifiers of wudu that the Shaykh rahimahullah mentioned here. طيب. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he, after finishing with the fourth condition of the salah, he goes on to the fifth condition. He says الشرط الخامس إزالة النجاسة من ثلاث من البدن والثوب والبقعة والدليل قوله تعالى وثيابك فطهر. The fifth condition is that one removes the filth from three things: his body, his clothing, and the place that he's praying. It says the proof for that is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ, and purify your garments. Purify your garments. And this ayah proves that we must remove the filth from the body, because if you have removed it from the garment, then from the body, the body is more important. The body is more should be removed. The filth should be removed from the body. Yani, that is more relevant. And as for the place, that is like it takes the ruling of the garments. Analogy on the garment. And because the same ruling of the garment, because it's close to you, it is what you're wearing, and it is close to you. The same thing with the place that you're praying. So this ayah basically shows that one should purify his garment, or the garment, his body itself, and the garment, the place that's praying. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. The Shaykh rahimahullah then went on to the sixth condition. He said, then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentioned the proof for that. That is covering the awrah. And the proof for that, he says, أجمع أهل العلم أن على فساد صلاة من صلى عريانا وهو يقدر. That the scholars have unanimously agreed that the person who prays naked without any clothes, if he has the ability to wear clothes, then his salah is void. Then his salah is void. It's invalid. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentions the awrah that one has to cover for the men. He says وعورة الرجل وحد عورة الرجل من السرة إلى الركبة. It's from the navel to the knee. And the navel and the knee is not included in that. وَالْأَمَةُ كَذَلِكَ. He says the slave girl is like that. There's difference to opinion in the awrah of the slave girl. Some scholars say that the awrah of the slave girl is what is the head, the neck, the hands, and the feet up to the shin. That is basically how they used to dress. The slave girls used to dress in the time of the companions, and that is what some of the companions allowed them to pray in. Wallahu a'lam. And this is different. When you're talking about the awrah here, what you have to cover here, this is different. This is specific for the salah. It's not the awrah of going out of the house or that people can see. This is specific for the salah, right? وَالْحُرَّةُ كُلُّهَا عَوْرَةٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهَا. And the entire of the free woman, her entire body is awrah. She has to cover her entire body, the hands and the feet. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that the hands and the feet are also not compulsory because there is no proof to prove it. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu a'lam. He says, وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى, and the proof, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Adam, adorn yourselves, or take your adornment for every masjid. And what he says, أي عند كل صلاة. What is meant by masjid? Salah is the salah. أي عند كل صلاة. Adorn yourselves, and the least adornment is that you cover the awrah. الشرط السابع, it says the seventh condition, دخول الوقت. It's the entrance of the time, that the time enters. He says والدليل من السنة حديث جبريل عليه السلام أنه أما النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في أول الوقت وفي آخره فقال يا محمد الصلاة بين هذين الوقتين. The hadith of Jibril alayhi salam that he led the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in prayer in the beginning of the time and in the last part of the time. And he said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "O Muhammad, the salah is between these two times. The salah is between these two times," which shows that it has to be done in a specific time. And there is a difference between, this is general, this is specific for the 5 salawat. The 5 salawat, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. As for the Nawafil salawat, the shout is that it is not done in awaqtul nahi. It is not done in a time that it's prohibited. It is not done in a prohibited time from praying. As for the Jumu'ah salah, then it has to be done in its timing, not just the entrance of the time. And there's a difference between the entrance of the time and the time. Because the entrance of the time, like Fajr salah or Dhuhr salah, as long as the time comes in, you can pray it. Even if it's after the timing, you can make it up. It is accepted if you make it up. Like if you sleep way through the Fajr salah, then you can make it up and it is accepted. However, for the Jumu'ah salah, it is not made up after the time. The Jumu'ah salah has to be done in its time, right? It cannot be made up after the time. The Jumu'ah salah cannot be prayed before its time, and it cannot be made up after its time. The Fajr salah cannot be prayed before its time, but it can be made up after its time, right? So there's a difference between this. The Jumu'ah salah, the shart, the condition for the Jumu'ah salah is the timing. It has to be done in its timing. As for the rest, the 5 salawat, it has to be done after the entrance of the time. The entrance of the time. If it is done before that, it has to be redone. He says, وَالدَّلِيلُ مِنَ السُّنَّةِ, the proof from the Sunnah is the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, and the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا, that the prayer was enjoined on the believers at fixed time mawquta. He said, meaning, أي مفروضا في الأوقات, that it is prescribed, it is made fard, it was made compulsory in specific timings. Right. He says, and the proof for the timings, then the proof for the timings, what are the timings of the salah? He says, this is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس, لدلوك الشمس. He says to establish salah from the, after the shams passes the zenith, right? And that is the dhuhr time. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس, into the darkness of the night, until the darkness of the night. وقرآن الفجر, and establish the Quran of Fajr. Verily, in the Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. Very recitation of Quran in the Fajr Salah is witnessed. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the timings of Aqim as-salata li duluki shams, from after midday, and that's Dhuhr and Asr, ila ghasaq al-layl, to the darkness of the night, and that includes Maghrib and Isha. And then he mentions Fajr. He says, wa Quran al-Fajr, inna Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. And the timing of Dhuhr, is after the sun passes the middle of the sky. After the sun passes the middle of the sky, until the length of your shadow is, the length of the shadow is equal to the object. The length of the shadow is equal to the object. And the shadow length is equal to the object, one shadow length. And you have to take away from that the dhil. There's like in the middle of the day, when the sun passes, when the sun is directly overhead, then there's a slight shadow that you have. There's a small shadow that you have. So you have to take out that shadow from the length of, you have to add that on. You have to add that on when you're checking the length of the exact length of the shadow length. And so the Asr Salah, like for example, say you have 10 centimeters. There's something that you have, an object that has 10 centimeters. And when the sun is in the middle of the sky, it has 1 centimeter shadow. The shadow is 1 centimeter. So the Asr Salah will start when the shadow reaches 11 centimeters, right? When the shadow reaches the 10 centimeters plus the 1 when the sun is in the middle of the sky. Right. The Asr Salah starts from that time when the shadow meets is equal to the length, until the setting of the sun. Until the setting of the sun. Until the sun starts to set. Now, before that, there's difference of opinion if Salat al-Asr has 2 timings. In the Hanbali madhab, they said that the first timing is from 1 shadow length to 2 shadow lengths. And there's difference of opinion whether it's 2 shadow length or until the sun gets yellow. Until the sun gets yellow. Now, this is 2 different times because of 2 different hadith that were mentioned in this regard. So they said that it is allowed to pray until that time, except for one who has an excuse, then he can pray after that. If you don't have an excuse, then you're sinning to delay the prayer after that. But there's time until the sunset, until the sunset. And so there's waqt ikhtiyar, a waqt, a timing that you have a choice in, and waqt ittirar, a timing when you have an excuse, a timing for excuse. And if you have an excuse, then you can pray after that time. If you don't have an excuse, then you have delayed the salah out of its time. Wallahu a'lam. Maghrib salah starts from the setting, the completely sets under the horizon until the redness from the sky disappears. There's the redness of the sky that disappears like about an hour just after an hour. The redness from the sky totally disappears, and that is the ending time of Maghrib salah. And at that time, that is the beginning also of the Isha salah until the Hanbali madhab is until Fajr. But they have also, like Asr salah, they have two timings. They have the timing that you have choice in, and that is until the midnight. And from midnight to Fajr salah is for people who have excuses. If you were sleeping, if the woman was in her menstrual cycle, and so on. Like, they say if you delay it after the middle of the night, then you have delayed the salah out of the timings. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. The Fajr salah starts dawn, the second dawn. And the dawn that is the dawn that goes horizontal, not the dawn that goes straight up. The dawn that goes horizontal until the sun starts to rise, until the beginning of the sunrise. So these are the timings of the salawat, the 5 salawat that we have to pray. The rajih, wallahu a'lam, the more correct opinion in regarding to the Asr salah is that it has one timing, and that is from the shadow length, from one shadow length until the sun sets. And it's better to pray it before the second shadow length. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Yani praying the Asr salah should be done at the beginning of the time. That's the mustahab waqt. As for the Isha salah, the Isha salah, the timing for the Isha salah starts from when the redness disappears in the sky until the midnight. And midnight is known by dividing the time between Maghrib salah and the dawn. Dividing the time between Maghrib salah and the dawn. Between Maghrib salah and the dawn, that's the middle of the night. The half of that is the middle of the night. So the Isha salah ends at that time. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Its time does not extend to Fajr salah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Like the Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, الشرط الثامن, the 8th condition. Just give me some extra time today. Just complete the conditions, inshallah. الشرط الثامن, he says, the 8th condition is that you face the Qibla, facing the Qibla. He says the proof for this is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قد نرى تقلب وجهك في السماء. الشرط الثامن استقبال القبلة, والدليل قوله تعالى قد نرى تقلب وجهك في السماء فلنولينك قبلة ترضاها فولي وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام وحيثما كنتم. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says the proof for that is the statement of Allah, we have seen the turning of your face towards the heaven, so we shall turn you, or we shall direct you to a direction that you are pleased with. So direct your face to the direction of Al-Masjid Al-Haram, to the sacred masjid in Mecca, and wherever you are, then direct your faces towards it. Okay? That is the Masjid Al-Haram. And the direction of the Qibla, facing the direction of the Qibla, is wajib for the person who sees the Kaaba, that he must face the Kaaba itself. This is an ijma'. It was ijma' that Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah mentioned it in Al-Mughni. As for whoever is away from the Kaaba, he's not seeing the Kaaba itself, then he has to face the direction of the Kaaba. It doesn't have to be exactly on the Kaaba itself. And this was reported in a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says, what is between the east and the west is a qibla. And there is difference if it is sahih from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or not. But generally, the scholars agree to that whoever is farther or not seeing the exact Kaaba, then he has to face the direction. He doesn't have to face it directly. He doesn't have to face the Kaaba directly. Right. Then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentioned the 9th condition and the last condition. He says, الشرط التاسع النية, the intention, ومحلها القلب والتلفظ بها بدعة, and the place of the intention is the heart, and speaking it out or mentioning it out is an innovation. والدليل الحديث إنما الأعمال بالنيات, the proof for the condition of the intention is the hadith verily actions are by intentions, وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى, and everyone will only have that which he intends. And in the intention, you have to have two things. The first is that you intend that this action is done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second intention that you have, the second thing that you have to intend is that you're praying the compulsory salah of this timing that you're going to pray. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhanaka Allahumma wa hamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Pardon me for going over the time. If there's any questions, then we can take it, inshallah. The recording, inshallah, will be posted today, inshallah. Both of today's class and yesterday's class, inshallah. The timing for dhuhr is okay. The sun starts, it rises from the east and it goes all the way to the west. Now, when the sun is in the middle of the sky, the shadows, when the sun starts from the east, the shadow of the object or whatever object goes towards the west. And this shadow, as the sun rises and goes higher and higher in the sky, it shortens until the shadow shortens to a length where it doesn't shorten anymore after that. It reaches to a point where it doesn't shorten anymore after that. And then it starts to go to the east. As the sun comes over the middle of the sky, it starts going towards the west. The sun is going to the west and the shadow is going to the east, right? So when the shadow stops shortening, it doesn't shorten anymore, that is called the zawal. Now, when the sun passes the timing, as long as the shadow starts to lengthen towards the east, that's the beginning of the dhuhr time. The dhuhr time ends when the shadow reaches the length of that object. The shadow is equal to the length. You have to add the shadow that you had at the time of dhuhr, just before the dhuhr time. And when the shadow does not shorten anymore. We said the example of that, if you have an object that has 10 centimeters, at the time of dhuhr, its shadow length was 1 centimeter. So you add that 1 centimeter to the 10 centimeters. So when the shadow length reaches 11 centimeters, then that's the ending of the dhuhr time and the starting of the asr time. Maghrib salah starts as soon as the sun goes under the horizon. The entire disk of the sun goes under the horizon. Not the starting of the setting of the sun, rather the ending of the setting of the sun. The sun completely sets, then the Maghrib time comes in. The Maghrib time continues until the redness disappears from the sky completely. You don't see any more redness in the sky because after the sun sets, there's light remains, and then the light diminishes until the whiteness disappears. There's a whiteness that disappears before the redness. The redness is the last thing from the sun that disappears. So when that disappears, when the redness disappears, then the timing of Maghrib is finished and the Isha time starts. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. For women, if not in the masjid or in the musalla, is it valid to pray even without the adhan? Example, during travel, one stopped in a peaceful, secure area where one can pray, and in the notification if a prayer happens in the faith that now one can pray. Can one pray even if not hearing the adhan? Na'am. The timing of the salawat is specifically mentioned. So as long as the timing of the salah comes in, and sometimes some of these apps are mistaken. So you have to take that into consideration also. And if you have the ability to verify the signs by yourself, it's good if you can do it before starting your salah, because sometimes some of these apps they have mistakes or they have miscalculations and so on, right? So be careful with the timings, and you can delay it a bit, some of the times. But the ibrah, as long as the time comes in, even if you put the adhan, or if you didn't give the adhan, you can the shout. The condition is that the time comes. That is the condition. والله تعالى أعلم. And that's not specific for women. And it can be men also can pray even if they didn't hear the adhan, even if they didn't give the adhan. نعم. Okay, with that we close. إن شاء الله سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاك خيرا.